here, though, that I think may come up, and I've been telling you guys, I love the grief I get on this one, but somebody's got to take a position to stir some conversation, right? Why not me? Okay, so the Nationals. I've talked about often, don't count them out yet. I've not said they're going to win the division. I've not said they're going to win a wild card. I just said don't count them out yet. Let's look at the Nationals on July the 4th. Let's see where they are. They've won 7 out of 10, okay? But, and here's the but, if they were to trade an Adam Eaton to a contending team, who needs another outfielder? A possible replacement is Yadiel Hernandez. Yadiel Hernandez has been one of the best and one of the most overlooked bats in the minor leagues. Okay? He is hitting .368, .455 on base percentage, .698 slugging percentage, 16 home runs, 5 stolen bases. He's got a 14% walk rate, a 16% strikeout rate. Now, here's the problem with this guy. He's no kid. He's 30 years old, all right? So his dynasty stashing prospects are not as high as redraft potential. But should Washington go into a fire sale mode, Hernandez could be getting his chance sooner than later. Keep your eye on Washington. Do they trade players? And if they do, and if Adam Eaton is one of those, then look to add Yadiel Hernandez. And remember, I told you, the same guy who told you last week that Yordan Alvarez was going to get called up by the weekend, the same guy that told you Austin Riley was going to get called up 2 days before he did, I'm telling you, if Washington goes into sell mode, Yadiel Hernandez will get a chance to play this season regularly during the months of July and August. Speaking of Washington, Lenny talked about this guy this morning, so I did a little research on him. What about Howie Kendrick? Yeah, is he not having just a kick butt kind of year for the Nationals? Telling you. He had 2 for 3 last night with 2 walks, a double, 3 runs scored, and an RBI. And last night, Washington, they socked it to the White Sox 12-1. He started at designated hitter last night, playing in the American League Park. He extended his hit streak to 5 games, but he's been locked in all year. He's 35 years old, but check this out. Over his last 13 games, are you ready? A .452 average and an .822 slugging percentage. Matt Adams strains his oblique, leaves Monday's game early. Kendrick's going to probably take over as the everyday first baseman for Washington. If Kendrick's available in your fantasy leagues, now is a great time to add Howie Kendrick. This is the Yeast Rising segment brought to you by Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. These are players on the rise. Howie Kendrick. How about Colin Moran for Pittsburgh? And I love Colin Moran for a lot of reasons. First of all, don't you just love his beard? Okay? Second of all, he's a Tar Heel. Anybody who goes to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, like I did, like Colin Moran did, they're one of my favorite players. Okay, get that out there. Well, the Pittsburgh third baseman has been getting everyday playing time, and oh my gosh, he has been taking advantage. Hitting .295, 5 home runs, 11 RBIs over his last 44 at-bats. That's 12 games. Okay? Now, sure, I love watching the power numbers, but consider this. He only had 11 home runs over 415 at-bats last year, but he already has 9 over 176 at-bats this year. You want to do that math for me? Okay, so let's do it. He had 11 home runs. I can't even see my calculator. Okay, let's do this. He had 415 at-bats and he had 11 home runs. That's last year's rate is every 38 at-bats. He hit a home run. Okay? Remember that number, 38 at-bats last year. This year, what did I tell you? He's had 9 over 176 at-bats. 20 at-bats. So he went from every 38th at-bat home run to this year every 20th at-bat. He almost cut that in half. Yeah, I love me some Colin Moran. Okay, where's the power coming from? Well, first of all, he's 26 years old, so he's in his prime years. He's upped his fly ball rate by 5%. He's upped his hard contact rate by 5%. He's also pulling the ball more often, and the large majority of his home runs are from his pull side. Power boost is huge. He's not going to hurt you in average. He's hitting 273 on the year, 277 over 602 at-bats at the major league level. What's not to like about Colin Moran? You know, he just doesn't, he's the Rodney Dangerfield of third baseman, right? He gets no respect. How about Jalen Beeks for Tampa Bay? Yeah. Try and give you some names that are a little more obscure today, guys, okay? Because, again, like I say, everybody knows Mike Trout. He's a great player. Everyone knows Mookie Betts. He's a great player, okay? We all drafted him. He's not a free agent. Jalen Beeks may be, okay? He's been the primary pitcher behind an opener this year. He's currently 5-0. And here's the thing I like about that. If you're in a league, let me talk about this for a minute. If you're in a league where starts count, you know, say you get a limited number of starts, 9 per week, but you can have unlimited innings from your relief pitchers. Jalen Beeks, king. He's a king. He doesn't start, but he gets the innings. He's 5-0, a 2.76 ERA, 45 strikeouts over 49 innings. He may only pitch 3 to 4 innings, but he comes in after the opener, pitches 2 or 3 times a week, gets you a lot of innings. He can be listed as an RP. Okay? So he has a 13% infield fly ball rate, which is strong. He should be an option in deep leagues. And I bet some of you guys never heard of Jalen Beeks. Okay? Yeah, George, you're right. He could be an all-star this year. And he is one of the best-kept secrets in Major League Baseball. He really is. How about Dakota Hudson? Do you guys like Dakota Hudson? I don't know. Sometimes thunderstorming with him, right? But he's been pitching pretty well of late. Well, why do I say that? 2.59 ERA and 2 wins across his last 7 starts, 41.23 innings. Hasn't given up more than 3 earned runs since April 15th. That's 9 starts. He's lowered his ERA from 6.08 to 3.70 in that span. He does have a low strikeout rate. He just has 45 strikeouts in 65 innings. I'll do the math for you. That's 6.2 Ks per 9. I could do better than that. But otherwise, his numbers are good. Okay? If K per 9 is an important part of your league, you probably don't want any part of Dakota Hudson. But if ERA, whip are important, he may be a player that you want to add. He gives up fly balls at a very low rate. And in the era of home runs, flying off bats, how about that game yesterday, Arizona and Philly? I mean, can you believe it? 13 home runs in one game? That's more than Miami hit probably in the whole month of April for a team. They had 13 in one game yesterday. And Dakota Hudson gives up fly balls at a very low rate, 20%, which means fewer extra base hits allowed, fewer home runs allowed. He's a young kid, 12 or 15 team leagues. Certainly someone you want to take a look at. All right. So Cha-Cha said he found a baseball card of Yankee Hall of Famer Hank Bauer. I met Hank Bauer at a fantasy camp probably 18 years ago. And got some cards signed and some balls signed. He and Moose Skowron were really good buddies. I got one ball signed by Skowron and Bauer together. Of course, Bauer played on the Yankee teams in the 50s. And then he managed the Orioles in 66 when they won the World Series. I guess you guys know that. But a super guy. I'd love to see a picture of that baseball card. I have some autographed baseball cards of him. I got his 57 card autograph. Pretty cool, huh? And some older Yankees. Yeah, Cha-Cha, it's pretty nice. I got some older cards, Yogis, Don Larson's, Ron Duran. They all used to go to the fantasy camps. And, of course, you know, Larson's still with us, but Bauer passed away Duran's passed away. Moose Gowron's passed away. Those are some great guys, and that's an era that will never, baseball will never be like that again. Another player I want you to look at, though, for fantasy this year, how many of you guys own Raimel Tapia? Okay. Now, the reason I mentioned Tapia, I usually like to look at players who've done really good recently. Well, Tapia hasn't. I'll be honest. Tapia's off to a cold start in June. He's hitting 147 to start the month of June. No home runs, 1 RBI. But he's playing every day for Colorado. Okay? Now, this cold streak, he's been removed from the leadoff spot. He's now batting 6th for the Rockies. But I've always wondered what he would do if he were given the opportunity. Okay? He's still getting the opportunity. He is hitting 256 on the year with this recent cold streak. He does have 5 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 22 RBIs. All right? There may not be a whole lot to be excited about outside of Coors Field, but when he's in Coors Field, he could be picked up off the waiver wire. All right, let's see. George says, I was offered Tapia, Bader, and Walker Buehler for my Arenado. Well, I'm going to tell you, George, I don't make that trade. Okay? Tapia is a guy I'm talking about because if you have a need during a particular week or in a daily league, he's worth a look if he's at Coors Field. Okay? Bader doesn't hit enough for me. Buehler, I don't like pitchers this year. And Arenado's in a league of his own at third base. Okay? And Tapia may wind up being a rich man's Michael Taylor. I know this. He plays at Coors Field, which is the biggest advantage to him going forward. Okay? And how about Max Fried? You know, Max Fried, he looked really good early on. He's looked like garbage recently. Over his last 7 starts, he's compiled a 5.61 ERA over 33 innings, and opposing batters are hitting .316 against him. He's not pitched more than 6 innings in any of his last 7 starts. He's given up 3 or more earned runs in 5 of those, including 3 straight. Max Fried's ERA has jumped from 2.11 to 3.75. Okay? Now, is he just the 3.75 ERA pitcher we've seen recently, or is he more inclined to return to the form early in the year? Well, let's look at this. He had some good luck, good fortune in his first 6 starts. He had a 265 balls against him batted in play. In his last 7 starts, a 388 average against him in that same category. Okay? His strikes looking and strikes swinging were exactly the same in both time frames. Okay? What I'm talking about is in sports, especially in baseball, it seems like everything seems to balance out, right? Fried is not a pitcher who pitches to a low 2 ERA. He's a pitcher who's going to sit in the mid-3s. He's not going to be a fantasy ace. He could be a back end of your rotation. I love what George is saying. I think his ERA ends up around 4.20 for the year. I think he's a high 3 to maybe low 4. I agree. So if you sold Max Fried high 3 or 4 weeks ago, good for you. I mean, let me give you some applause. Good for you if you sold him 3 or 4 weeks ago. Because I don't think you're going to be able to get to sell him as high now or going forward as you would have, say, in mid-May or early May. If he's available and you want to pick him up, he's a back-end rotation guy for fantasy. I'm not interested in Max Fried. Here's another guy that I'm not really interested in. I'm just giving you some I get bad news, I guess, okay? We're going to wrap up soon with the show. Mike Zunino. Okay, I gave you a pitcher, now let me give you a hitter. All right. I'm not a big fan of Zunino. Okay, since he returned from the injured list on May 31st, he's just had 1 hit and 25 at-bats. That's an 0.40 average. Okay? I love George saying I'd rather roster Cam than Max Fried. Okay, I'm not there yet. Okay, but maybe Zunino. All right, he's hitting 0.40, and it gets even worse when you think about the fact that he's losing playing time to a red-hot Travis d'Arnaud. All right? And remember how bad Travis d'Arnaud was? Zunino has never hit for great average. He normally supplies solid power numbers the last 2 seasons, but he just has 3 homers this year so far.